Welcome. Today we're going to be discussing astrology and archetypes and how it can help you realize your destiny in its full totality and understand how to take your consciousness out of the elements as it's been subdued in matter and bringing it up and out of the four elements and becoming cosmic conscious of the first on a planetary level and then in the astrological level, and then finally attaining the celestial state of consciousness, which is the supreme Purusha or seer of the Vedanta. So, by understanding that with initiation, we understand how to read and interpret the symbols, and we understand that all symbols come from nature. And nature and the celestials is the eternal craftsmanship or the divine book that was written by the Logos. Logos, in this sense of being the supreme intelligence of the universe, and was able to imprint all of that into the matrix of the physical realm. So, the initiate on his journey first goes to take on the internal battle with the elements. The consciousness is always waging war upon the forces of the elements: earth, water, air, and fire. And when we take these elements and we begin to consecrate them, which means casting our conscious attention onto the part of our being that is earth, the part of our being which is water, the part of our being which is air, and the part of our being which is fire. Once we master those elements, we create a personal center or a personal point of consciousness of the Akashic principle, which is the fortifying factor, which is the dissolving coagulate of the four elements in and of themselves, because the four elements actually emanate from the Akash, the fifth element, which is the space, but not only the space, it is the energetic substratum that fills the space. If you look closely to the sides, you can actually see the Akash in video camera as well as in the room around you. All you have to do is look without looking, essentially. By looking without looking, you're able to perceive the subtle etheric realm, which is closely related to the Akash or the space principle. It is the everlasting current of energy that fills the void, essentially the void of space. Now, the space is in regards to the womb of the universal mother, which is impregnated by the creative Purushic force, which then produces all of these identities and different soul variations. So, as the souls descend into the physical realm, it clashes with the matter and the four elements and rages war upon them. Think of the times that your soul's in a physical body, so that could be very limiting, correct? So you could break a bone, you could have various diseases, you could various different harms that could take place against the physical body. And then you have the water principle, right, which is the emotions, the tyranny of the emotion of people can commit heinous crimes based off of unregulated emotion, correct? So those inner emotions can sway us one way or another and actually tempt us to act illogically or irrationally. Then we have the air principle, which is the mind, right? A flighty mind, an airy mind. We know that the mind has been ascribed to the air element, and until you have mastered the air element, you experience the whirlwind of thoughts, the thoughts running rampant, the unable to master concentration on one subject or one thought, or being able to follow your train of thoughts without judgment or without getting lost into them. These are all related to the air initiation stage. Then you move on to fire, which is based on your eternal internal impulses, the creative ability, the potency, the vril. And once you overcome that fire, you're able to temper the powers of Mars, for example, Aries, the pride of the heart, the more infernal, fiery aspects of your consciousness. And in Initiation into Hermetics by Franz Barden, it was said to the first steps of initiation to start with the soul mirrors, which is to put all of your negative qualities and traits in one book, and all of your positive virtues and qualities in another book, and then ascribe elements to them. So pride could be fire, or sloth is it an earthly sloth, or more of a watery, sentimental, sanguine sloth. So getting to know the archetypes and the planets are correct. So first mastering the elements. Once that is mastered, you move on to the second level, which is the uh, mastery of the planetary bodies. So the seven metals, the seven planets, being able to access the various portals of Mercury to be a good communicator, or to bring the jovial energy and abundance of Jupiter, or to have the discipline and fortitude of Saturn, to have the ability to transmute the fiery, anger nature of Mars into something more productive, correct? So anger can be used as a debilitating force, but if it's put for the correct avenue, then Mars becomes almost our best friend, because it is that anger and rage that we actually need to temper our sword so that we can actually make different decisions, instead of repeating the same behaviors and habits. We actually can use that anger to be angry at ourselves or the state of the world, and to begin to make changes rather than just being in the passive state. Of course, with uh, the mysteries of, we have Venus, we have to master the essential nature of the universe and our body, as well as understanding how to appreciate beauty. Now, beauty, truth, justice, strength, these are all archetypes that are attributed to the highest, which is the creator on high, the most high, has all of these qualities in a very perfectly balanced state of being. When the souls descend into the physical realm, as we're individuals of that Purushic first force, then they all have our own in particular journey into the four elements, where we acquire various different temperaments based on the time of birth: earth, water, air, fire. Some people are fiery, some people are watery, but then they have different tone boards as well. So just because you have these various planetary ailments or benefits, you still have a soundboard to go off of from the 12 zodiac signs, depending on the planets they're in. So depending on what your specific outlook is based on those temperaments. And if you understand that, then you can direct your destiny by understanding which archetypes rule your subconscious patterns, how to tap in, and how to activate them. So I just wanted to share my screen really briefly. Let's see if I can. And let me know if you can see. Yep, looks like you can see my screen. And I'll check back just to make sure. So these are notes from a lecture I did in the past called Genesis Mysteries. Abraham dwelt in the city of Ur, the hidden light. So the West mythos usually depict humans as the archetypes, and the East use more godlike figures. As we can tell in the Western traditions, we have stories like Abraham and Sarah or Joshua, and these are human beings, right, on the physical plane, and they take place in various interactions that correspond to our internal soul journey. Um, whereas in the East, they use more godlike figures that are more deific. So in the West, Abraham, story of Abraham, you can take it from an astrological point of view and syncretizing the East and West. Abraham being Brahman, Brahma, the creator, representing the individual spirit, the brain, and Sarah, the throat, the feminine aspect. So we have Sarah, the feminine aspect, and we have Abraham, which is the individual spirit. And their main goal is to produce that soul, the child of promise, Isaac. The child of promise is always the neutral force. You always have to have the positive, negative, and the neutral. So you have the father, the mother, and then the activating force, which is always the key aspect within the various esoteric schools. So you have the two pillars, correct, on the tree of life, middle pillar being the Christic principle, the left and right being various imbalances from whether either materialism or ultra spirituality. And I give thanks to Robert Gilbert, great esotericist, bless his journey, bless his heart. He has been a very big help in my individual soul journey, and I was always very good at explaining the balancing of the pillars of the tree of life. So, of course, recommend taking a look into his work. But essentially, taking a look at the story of Abraham dwelling in the city of Ur, and Ur meaning light. So, right there, the Bible already gives you a hint that the city of Ur is actually the transcendental realm. A lot of these stories are talking about pre-incarnation. So, we're actually talking how spirit manifests into various subjects. In the Vedantic aspects of looking at it, you could say there's the self-reflective consciousness, the supreme consciousness, which then creates individual souls, which then have self-reflective consciousness. So you have a part of yourself, as in the Upanishad said, there's two birds on the tree. One is enjoying the fruits on the tree, and the other one is looking past the fruit on the tree and is enjoying just the horizon. This represents the watcher within that is aloof from the phenomenon and the part of you that is partaking in the phenomenon. I'm just checking to see, make sure that yep. And was everyone able to see my screen okay? Just want to make sure because I'm hopping back and forth. Cool. Going back. Now. Boom. Okay, cool. So, Ur is light, right? So Abraham dwelt in the city of Ur. It's a really cool way of basically explaining the fact that this man that you thought was a historical figure actually dwells within the hidden light of the unmanifested realm, and he's your inner aspect of the part of yourself that's the creator of the soul. Because in Kabbalah we have the unmanifest, which has its own manifestation qualities. We have to remember that when we're talking about the unmanifest realm, that doesn't necessarily mean it doesn't have form. It has transcendental forms. Here in the physical realm is the manifest realm, which means you're manifest in time and space. This is the place where most of the work is done to fortify the personality, the higher personality, the ego, developing preferences through pleasure and pain, navigating through all of the various realms. That's why in this realm, you experience all of the archetypes, all the movie, you experience the triumph of the hero, or sometimes you experience the death of the hero. Sometimes you experience the traitor. Sometimes you experience the messenger, or sometimes there's a part of you that's giving you a message within yourself. These are not always external. John the Baptist being within, as we looked in the last lectures, John the Baptist being a symbol of the enlightened intellect, which searches within for the Christ being the Purusha aspect. So there's these different faculties within ourselves that are guiding the different faculties. You can almost look at it as a water wheel. And as the water rises up into the systems, each one has its ability to turn itself into the next groove on its way back up in the same way it goes down. So it always has its likeness and correspondence of the sphere or reality above it. So when this comes down to human beings writing these holy books, we transcode these and put them into perfect little characters and storylines that show the relationship between the various realms of the unmanifest becoming manifest. So, or is light. Abraham dwells within the hidden light of the unmanifest. His father says to get from my city and go on to another land. What does this mean? Now, does this mean that there's people in the desert and his father's telling him to go to another land, and he's going to have a vision and God's going to talk to him, tell him to, kill his son, that he doesn't have to, promised unlimited, reproductive ability, etc. Well, what it means is his father says, get from my city and go to another land. It's because he's leaving the land of light, or, which is the unmanifest realm. He's coming down into another land. What is that other land? I want to see if someone has an answer in the chat. What is the other land that he's coming to? Just to pop, just to see if anyone has an answer. Okay, so the land that he's actually coming down to is actually it's the physical realm. So you are in that other land. Bingo, right? That's the whole point of the esoteric text, are to basically kind of have that shock factor, allowing you to basically perceive into a higher dimension without it fully explaining it to you at face value. So I'll go ahead and share my screen again. So his father says, get from my city and go to another land. And that other land is the physical realm. So your higher aspect of your soul, the super aware part of yourself that dwells within the hidden light, a part of itself higher than itself, told itself, hey, go down into matter. Manifest into the ninth sphere, the realm of the elements. Take form. So this always implies that the soul leaves from the unmanifest realm. Manifesting is just said on the tree of life to do the work upon the human soul in Tippereth. Because in order to do work upon the human soul, because before you were human, you were an essence. In order to fortify the human soul, it has to utilize manifest as just said and to do work upon the human soul in Tippereth. And this is how we can decode the story of Abraham and Sarah, understanding that Abraham and Sarah mean love and wisdom, and then Isaac meaning happiness, which is also another allegory of living your life. When you combine love and wisdom in your actions, you manifest the child of promise, which is happiness, which is the Isaac. And the story of the faith, of the celestial aspect, he's told to, take his son up to the mountain and slay him. But instead, God says he was just putting him to a test and says to slay the lamb instead, symbolic of the transition of, the hope of being lost in winter, the season of winter, the darkness of the soul, or the physical carnality of the soul touching and coming into contact with the physical realm, right? As Alvin Boy Kuhn says, as that fiery spirit comes down into earth and water, it's almost like a sizzle or a tsh, tsh, tsh. That sound is the sound of manifestation. and then we manifest the microcosmic portal of the whole. So, of course, we have these two aspects within ourself, Abraham and Sarah, cerebrum, the cerebrum. We even name our anatomy after. Everything is connected symbolically, but sometimes even by name. So we have the cerebrum being the left and right faculty of the mind, the receptive aspect of the mind, and the active nature of the mind. And it's important to utilize both of these factors, as Robert Gilbert was explaining, that receptive meditation is just as important as active meditation. And in the East, we focus too much on the receptive, abstract meditative techniques. And then in the West, we focus too much on visualization, when in reality, we need to enter into the silence and then enter into active meditation to extract information from the higher spheres. And once we understand Kabbalah and archetypes and what all of these characters represent on a psychological level, and we become astropsychologists, then we're able to navigate this realm and use these scriptures as a roadmap to the Supreme. Isaac means one who laughs or one who rejoices. This is the state of being when the sage reaches the point where he has surpassed all frailties, all prejudices, all judgments, all concealments, all negative internal aggregates, and one who begins to laugh at the simplicity of nature, and one who rejoices in life because their nervous system's overflowing with light. So when you become an Isaac, the child of promise, which is another Christ symbol, Isaac and Christ are the same archetype here. If you haven't noticed, Isaac was going to be sacrificed, but instead the lamb was sacrificed, which represents Aries. So when the sun slays the ram Aries, then there's spiritual resurrection, which is the deeply hidden esoteric symbol of when we die here in the physical realm, we will achieve our spring on the higher planes. So Gebedah is also Isaac. And Egypt represents the lower self, or Malkuth. And Tiphereth is the human heart. Then also in the story, we meet Melchizedek, who blesses Abraham. Notice how, like even in the story of Jesus, we have John the Baptist, which blesses Jesus. So we have these other characters, right? There's never just one hero. There's always support. And this doesn't just manifest in your physical realm. These archetypes are inside first. Everything's inside out. So they may manifest to you in your physical realm or in the transcendental planes, but know that there's a Melchizedek within you that needs to bless your inner Abraham to set it in motion so that Chesed can begin to work on Tiphereth, the human soul, and to put it into form. Because when we remember back in the lectures of Genesis, we remember that Adam is in formation. Right? The story of Genesis is ongoing. And that's why there's two chapters of the same thing, because the first chapter explains the totality of the story, and then chapter 2 sets the pace of the realm of the soul coming from the monad, coming down into duality, departing from its twin flame, going back down into Egypt. And just as it said above, Abraham was told to leave the city of Ur and to go to the other land being the physical body. As a child, we could easily astral project, or as I like to say, inner project, because we go into the higher realms through the inner planes. It's an outward end. The outer form, outer part of the realm is the physical realm, and the inner point is the spiritual. So you have your physical body, which is your clothes, and then you have your internal soul. So same way as within, so without. So it was easy for us to project into the inner planes when we were in our Isaac archetype, as Jesus says, be as children to enter the kingdom of heaven, because when we are children, we are Isaac. We rejoice and laugh with the simple nature of God. It's only then when we acquire our egos by leaving the garden and entering duality, which is multi-layered, right? We're talking pre-manifestation of the physical realm, as well as on a deep psychological level and a daily level. You can experience Genesis and daily, but even primordially. So, Melchizedek is the superconscious Christ mind. And this imitates and activates and puts into activity. And Abraham begins to inherit the lands, or the holy land, which is basically mastering your houses, mastering the 12 aspects of life, the 12 zodiac, inheriting the lands, the inner planes. The different realms within yourself are realms that you need to inherit and are promised to you if you follow through to your higher calling. So acquiring land from the Lord, this is the Sephiroth, or the inner planes. As the consciousness awakens, the fertile land becomes flourished, and our inner senses are awakened. We begin to be naturally clairvoyant, clairsentient, clairaudient, to be able to hear the internal voices, to be able to see the internal denzians, to be able to awaken our consciousness to see from a non-dualistic point of view and see that the truth is always in the center of the extremes. So this occurs by our internal Sodom and Gomorrah being destroyed, which are all the bestial animalistic tendencies that are ingrained in the physical animal soul of the body, which is transmuted and to raw energy for the natural soul, and then the divine soul, which is where the animal sacrifice comes in. So we have to sacrifice the animal of the lower nature, and that feeds the higher nature. So the God in the Old Testament is actually not as scary as we think. He's actually the spiritual aspect of our consciousness. And that is destroyed from fire from heaven. Well, what do we see on the microcosm of heaven is the heaven being Aries the head. And that heaven fire being the cardinal fire, which comes down from Aries and enters into the spinal column and begins purifying. Now, Yesod on the tree of life, this part right here, let's get this bigger, is the astral dimension. Yesod is the fourth dimension. Now, Abraham, the exalted father, the sun in Aries, or the heaved up place, heaven, which is on top of the two shoulders, which the two shoulders don't reach all the way up. Again, only through the center column are we able to reach the exalted father, Abraham, Aries. And that's why also Moses, the story of Moses, he has depicted with ram horns, also blows the ram horn and says, stop worshiping the golden calf, because you have to rise from the throat chakra to the head, which is Aries. And even overcome words, just like the Tao Te Ching says, the master, speaks less, listens more, and only when you're teaching you become a blabbermouth because you have to point the way, correct? So there is a time where silence does overtake, and sometimes it just does become kind of hard to just like try to overly express and communicate, when silence sometimes is the best teacher as well. So once Sodom and Gomorrah destroyed, will no longer operate in the lower mind. So Abraham sacrifices his son Isaac. Abraham is put to the test, told to sacrifice his son Isaac. Remember, Isaac means joy or laughter. So to sacrifice our joy and pleasures for God. God then shows us that we do not have to sacrifice our joy and happiness, but we have to be willing. The ram or Aries is sacrificed instead. And this is the crucifixion of the seed in the brain or Aries, the rising of the serpentine fire into the brain. As Moses rose the serpents in the desert, so the Son of Man must be risen on the cross. And sacrificing the Son is like sacrificing happiness and joy, which we don't have to do. So allegories are more real than history. These archetypes are trying to help you align to your personal destiny. A story of Abraham manifests biochemically, astrologically, and spiritually. The planets within all have personal characteristics. In fact, they are immortal demigods and angelic hosts, which have their internal point of consciousness and their own state of being outside of our awareness, as we have our awareness comparing that to the animal kingdom. So angels also have a higher state of consciousness compared to the human kingdom. Now, humans can manifest that angelic consciousness through the initiation and bearing their cross, which is crucifixion on the four elements, putting them into activity, purification, achieving celestial consciousness through the 7 planetary spheres, and then achieving celestial consciousness through the zodiacal spheres. And then eternal immortal progression through that. So we'll be talking about conscious immortality and transversing and kind of what the whole point of all this is and what kind of techniques. I'd like to be able to go into specific esoteric techniques that have already publicly been announced. So you can find all this information on the internet, but be more than happy to help guide you and point you in the right direction and see where we can help facilitate that that kickstart. Because once you achieve that self-illumination, now you can achieve self-realization or illuminate. You can achieve illumination by simply listening to the Upanishads or Bhagavad Gita or the Srimad Bhagavatam or Psalms or the Old Testament or the New Testament. Various different, or the Tao Te Ching. These are all here to help you achieve illumination. So it's something that just kind of is granted to you. And in the Upanishads even says that the Atma chooses. And same like in the Christian tradition, you always say that God chooses. Few, many are called, few are chosen. You know, it's the Brahman or the Krishna within that calls us to, we have to hear the call. We have to hear Moses blowing the horn of Aries to be able to wake up that part of our brain. And it happens naturally as well. We can see this in people. When people start activating their cerebrum, their higher mind, rather than their cerebellum, they're less impulsive, and we grow out of our impulsive behaviors and achieve Aries. So, Abraham, the father of nations, because it is exalted in the head as Aries, and the creator of worlds like Brahma, the creative aspect in us that descends into Chesed. The innermost is always noble and righteous. Innermost is Abraham. And he is put to the test and trial, since Abraham represents the part of our soul or intelligence that maneuvers through the trials of the elements. Remember, his father told him he had to leave the land of Ur and go to the other land, the physical realm of the 4 elements, which is very painful for the soul. It is basically like a spiritual death to descend into these lower spheres, but you have to do it in order to acquire the human soul, because Chesed has to work on Tiphareth and put it into action. So you have to have trust and faith in the unseen, and these are qualities that initiate needs, and these are the qualities that Abraham in us that is developed. And then Ishmael, who is someone who is listening to God. Ishmael, the character, is listening to God, but putting the information to action is where Abraham comes in, and putting that listening that we acquire from our internal Ishmael, where we listen and acquire the knowledge of illumination, and then putting into action. And that's where we experience the name change. The H in Hebrew is the name for God. H, her, is feminine aspect. It resides at the throat. The outbreath of the creative spirit. The name change symbolizes the change in consciousness or an initiation. When we take our lower personality and it gets absorbed into the higher nature. But there's still more to go. This is just one part of the transition phase. So we work with the breath or air, which is the symbol of Kether. And in the earth stage of initiation, we understand that Kether is a point with no magnitude or circumference. And we begin to see the Kether as the Akashic air, or the primordial spirit, or the impersonal Brahman. H is the name for God. And in the Nordic rune Hagal, H is the three primary forces, and shows how light descends from the unmanifest realms into the physical realms through the various poles. We have the left and right poles, and we have the light that descends down into this. In the same way, the Eden Pingala in our spinal column, as we can see, it comes down from the left and crisscrosses over to the right, showing how the right is in charge of the left and the left is in charge of the right when it comes to the brain. And the same with the Ida and the Pingala within the nervous system, or the two channels. So to facilitate activity with this, we can use the same thing that Isaac means, which is laughter. Ha ha ha. Ha ha ha. Ha ha ha. Or the art of laughing, or the cosmic giggle. You practice ha, or ha gal, or ha hey he ho who. And you could begin to work with these three primary forces and put them into action. The intention and the divine intention combined with the breath, when you're utilizing intention and the breath and the vibration of your voice, attracts Christic energy into the body. Yesod is in the astral realms. Kether is the Malkuth of the unmanifest realm. So the unmanifest realm is even higher than Kether because there's splendid glories. As Swedenborg said, there are lands and plains and abodes of existence. As the Srimad Bhagavatam says, Krishna Loka, the highest realms, beyond the unmanifest of Kether, the impersonal Brahman, which is the demiurgic force that manifests the polarities necessary to create the womb of physical realm, to seed the individualistic consciousness that is going to be on its immortal journey from this point on. So enjoy the journey, gain knowledge, learn love, learn wisdom, understand your archetypes, understand these stories, and you can enter the door, which is Da'ath, which is knowledge, or the hidden child, and the door is Brahman. We can go into that in our next lecture. Just want to see if there are any questions in the chat. If anyone's willing to drop one of those super chats, show your appreciation, give thanks and praises. And also, just want to do some updates. There's the archive, innermysteries.org. You could take a look and see what kind of research is being done on this eclectic science, where I've compiled information. And of course, we're just going to be diving into it. Appreciate, just take kind of a little break from the PowerPoint and just see if anyone had any questions or conversations that they'd like to kind of steer towards. Let's take a brief pause. Yup. All right. Cool. I'm back. Thanks. So, the difference between Chokmah and Banah, so wisdom and love, the father and the mother. You have the father aspect and the mother aspect. You have the divine wisdom and divine love. Now, love without wisdom is always naive, and too much wisdom without love is always too harsh. Yeah. Thanks, man. It should be good now. Audio should be working now. Is it? Let's see. Cool. All right. So you need to have both, and love and wisdom is always guiding us. When love is guiding us, it's the mother. When wisdom is guiding us, it's the father. Samael, you are the Gnostic Bible. Yeah, I've read a lot of Samael's work on, Mary Magdalene and the Gnostic Bible, and I feel like he's a revolutionary. He's someone to read when you really want to get motivated and kind of kick yourself and get to work. So So essentially, what is the point of all this is to actually acquire a personal point of consciousness, a personal center to navigate the internal planes after this life on Earth. So on once this life on Earth's over, we have to navigate these other realms, and the people that have a personal point of consciousness or an internal center developed through life are going to be able to guide and help and be the protectors and guiders of those who may have a disorganized center. And you can see this in this life too. If you have a disorganized center, it could, manifest as various mental ailments, bipolar, schizophrenia, uh, violent tendencies, impulsiveness. Just look at all the ways that the planets or different archetypes of behavior can go wrong and actually lead to taking the life of another person. Like, I mean, there's some pretty crazy things that can go on. Um, yep, no worries. Come back. This will be posted. Yep, and you can always go to the live tab and rewatch them. Yep, I will post it, but it'll always be in the live section of my videos. They're always there. Thanks for stopping by. Um, so we just have to learn how to work with both, right? We have to work with we got to work with the fatherly aspect. That's why people without both parents don't seem to they have some issues, right? Single grown up single mom. That's how I grew up. Or sometimes people have dad issues or mom issues, and that's just the physical representation of the internal issues that we have if we're estranged from our internal spiritual father. You can see it in people that they are estranged, and they have it's almost like father issues with God upstairs, or they have mother issues where they actually have issues with the cosmic mother. Life's against them. Life is they're a victim, or they are protagonists, and they're always trying to uh, acquire or facilitate. There's just various different archetypes. If we don't control our archetypes and stars, our archetypes and stars will control us. If we don't get a grip on the elements of water, earth, if we don't acquire mastery of earth, then our physical body will fail, will become disgruntled, sloth will take over. If we don't acquire our ability to master air, we won't be able to master the art of communication. We won't be able to get our point across correctly. And in the spirit realm, after this life, it will also be difficult. So just know that everything you're doing in this world is in preparation for the spiritual abodes. And hopefully, I feel like we're all training this group here. We're all here to facilitate and be guides and helpers and protectors of the arcane wisdom. I hope that everyone feels like they're initiates of the flame, and that we have to protect and guide this eternal flame that even the Zoroastrians are keeping alive, the Christic flame, the star of the Magi, the the flaming pentagram of the Christ, the divine Krishna child, whatever, we have to keep this fire alive, and we have to pass the torch. And we have to make sure that we're not commercializing the esoteric teachings, and making sure that we're giving value, and that we're always available to help others. Like, we have to pay it forward, we have to take all these teachings and learn, just like the Rosicrucian said in back in the day, heal the sick, feed the poor. Like, that's really what it's all about, is basically just sacrificing your selfish animal nature, the me aspect, which is the negative aspect of Leo and Aries, right? Aries, self-centered. We have to transmute that and sacrifice the lamb, so that we can experience Isaac, divine happiness, divine laughter, divine joy. So that's how we can do that. And we can do that through ceremonial magic, through the Golden Dawn, or we can do that through Vedanta. We could, Vaishnava practices. And once we become sages or mages in our own right, we can create our own practices once we know the ingredients of the cosmos, essentially. Because that's what a magician does, is aligns himself with the celestial consciousness. And you have to have elementary consciousness, planetary consciousness, then zodiacal consciousness. And the same of the three worlds: earth, astral, and celestial. Earth being the bottom of the spine, the physical realm being the bottom of the spine, astral realm, or you can say earth being the heart, astral realm the throat, and celestial the head. And these are the three kingdoms you have to transverse to. That's why all the ancient temples are made in the shape of a human body, like the Temple of Luxor, because the ancient priests and the ancient seers were anatomists. And they understood that the workings of the human body were in alignment with the divine workings of the cosmos. And they understood that, just like Swedenborg, which I recommend everyone to learn, who is a great seer and transcendentalist, even quoted by Eliphas Levi and all the greats, really. Swedenborg mentions the different parts of heaven and the different jobs and host and like, after this life, your purpose might play the heart of the cosmos, or the brain of the cosmos, or the tendons, or the skeletal structure. So in the physical body, there's a skeletal structure, but in the ethereal realms, there's different corresponding archetypal ways of being and beings, right? That facilitate the same thing metaphorically as the skull or the jaw or the fingers or the hands. I'm sure everyone understands this. It's very simple to understand. Once you understand the two keys of occult science, the law of correspondence and the law of similarity, and the doctrine of the chain, that everything is a chain, everything is a correspondence, everything is similar, as above, so below. We are truly miniature vehicles of the Supreme. So we have to actually experience the whole Bible from the Old Testament to the New Testament, which is a revolution of consciousness, from eye for an eye to not eye for an eye. Love, forgiveness, right? Instead of casting stones, we help lift up the fallen brothers and sisters. I'd say the quickest way to the Supreme is through sound and vibration, and that inner sound current, and finding what was lost, right? We've all lost something, and we want to regain it. We need to find the hidden gem, the hidden treasure, the Ark of the Covenant, which is in the chest. It's in a chest, but it's talking about our chest because it's in our heart. And we have to activate the the 12-petaled lotus of the heart. And shout out to, I don't know if it's true or not, but I heard Robert Gilbert passed away, and I don't know, I've been really upset about it, but you know how rumors sometimes, but regardless of the fact, he's an immortal being, and definitely been inspired by his teachings quite a bit. And it just it's good to see good, great syncretists out there. There's a few really good syncretists out there in the world, and everyone's playing their own part, right? Because in the age of Aquarius, we will need a new way to facilitate this knowledge that will bring everyone together. It's time that the esoteric mysteries are unveiled, as the Bible predicted. What was hidden shall now be brought to light. So now the keys of esoteric science are freely given to everyone. And that can also spawn, you can feel like you know so much that you don't have to act as much. And that's exactly what the story of Abraham is trying to explain. Ishmael listens and perceives and hears the higher realm, but can they put it into action? Surveillum asks, what are your thoughts on the Platonists? Do you study Plato's works? Intense commentaries. Yeah, so I've read some Plato and some Lamachus, but what do I think of Platonism is that I feel like a lot of it is very similar to the Upanishads and understanding, emanations and understanding how the one becomes a two, the two becomes a three, and from the three and the four comes all things, and that the force of positive, negative, and neutral, or the father, the mother, and the child being the logos, and that word vibrating and creating all the similar universes down to the minute physical atom, atom or particle, or not particle, but just the physical realm, right? The spirit's negative polarity, right? So that's what I think about that. And what I think about theurgy is I feel like that we can utilize symbols and archetypes that our subconscious mind picks up on to align our intentions and our will and organize our elemental structure so that we can purely reflect what the soul wants to do rather than the instincts, right? So we just need to polish the mirror to be able to see a perfect reflection and be able to act upon those influxes without getting in the way of ourselves and without letting the physical realm get in the way. So through theurgy, we align ourselves with our higher archetypes, and we align ourselves with what we are supposed to be doing and which way we're supposed to be heading, rather than just going willy-nilly, pulled here and there. So guided spirituality asks, what is the best way to activate your heart chakra? Random acts of kindness, selfless service to the creator and others. The mantra, oh, deep breath in, tongue at the roof of the mouth, oh, activates the heart chakra and helps you actually enter in to the internal planes as well. And the heart chakra is also activated by transmuting the lustful instinctual energy and allowing it to vaporize into the heart chakra, having a more heartfelt experience. Activate the heart chakra. I'd recommend having children is a great way to do that, because once you have a child, then you know what true love is and what love for a being that you created, like God created you, and you feel that type of love when you have a child as well. So that can activate your heart chakra. And then the 6 esoteric exercises that Robert Gilbert or Rudolf Steiner taught to develop the 6 petals of your heart. So one being thoughts. So you're going to want to basically pay attention to the contents of your thoughts. There's various thought meditations, but it's directing your thought faculties. So you want to basically focus on one thought, one thing at one time, exclusion of all other things. You also want to master not thinking of anything at all, and you also want to master being able to simply observe the train of thoughts as well. And the second exercise would be doing um, something every day at the same time, like a ritual, like maybe snapping your fingers every day at 12:01, so that you are constantly doing something that'll be physical. And then emotions, just being aware of all of your emotions. And when you're angry, find the point that anger creeps in, instead of just allowing it to take over, the lion eating the sun, right? Or in the parable where it says, man becomes a lion or lion becomes a man. Don't let the emotions take over, right? Observe them from a distance. And then the other exercise to stay positive, always positive, to see everything in the light of goodness, because the logos is supreme good. So when we stand in goodness and we see things in goodness, we actually take as within, so without, our life becomes good. If we see everything in the positive light, then we feel everything is good. We can extract something good from even hardships, right? And then the last exercise, to tie it all together, so that your whole life is living those 6 exercises, and they become automatic, and you are able to activate that personal center within yourself. Yeah, and smoke and syncretism, amen, brother. Christ died for the truth. Yeah, man, that's true. And I like that. Christ, the divine logos, came down into human form, knowing that he would be killed by us, but still wanted to come down to teach those transcendental truths in that beautiful cryptogram. Cryptography is beautiful because it encapsulates spiritual truths through images. And that's why a lot of the stories of Christ and Krishna are in images, and why you can actually see the pictures of the story, because the picture is worth 1,000 words. And those pictures are cryptograms and are keys to unlocking those individualistic archetypes within yourself, so that you can develop that personal relationship with Christ within yourself. That is the logos and the divine protector. You could see Christ as the big brother of the human race on the transcendental plane, who's the principality of goodness, the perfect human, the perfect man, and someone that we can emulate and try to be like, right? It's an imitation process. We have to imitate the higher aspects of the higher beings in order to transition from the selfish aspects of the human. So, yeah, great questions. Probably just going to keep going on this one. Also, book a one-on-one consultation, innermysteries.org, or check out the book I've added and revised, Divine Mysteries of Existence. And then there are some really good cell salt products at the natural store I have on my website for best made natural products. And also, yeah, I recommend those cell salts for sure. Help restabilize the uh, deficiencies. As an Aries, burning up the potassium phosphate can make me, pretty impulsive, erratic, or irritated, and just supplementing those really actually helps transmute them. I was reading on like a Rosicrucian website a long time ago, and they were even recommending the cell salts. Yeah. So Yam I Am, I would recommend you thoroughly read Rudolf Steiner and what he thought about it. And then that should lead you to the correct answer, basically, because it's not like, for example, it's going to help purify your soul, but you have to be at that level and ready. You have to activate the internal forces within to help extract. And that's why vegetarianism is recommended, and why the polarities of carnality and carnism can chain you to the physical realm, as Rudolf Steiner said. But on the opposite end of the spectrum, it can also make it so that you're too airy and not able to accomplish some of the mission that you're here to accomplish. So yeah, I guess the balance would be the latter. So, yet his life is eternal. Can you elaborate on the true teachings of Yeshua the Messiah? Also, your view on the Ethiopian Bible versus the King James. What is the most complete Bible? Well, the Bible is always complete in and of itself because the Bible is made in a way that the cryptic allegories were going to keep the truth afloat, even if they were compromised. The Ethiopian Bible probably is mostly on point, and a lot of people from the Rastas and stuff like that already know that the 12 tribes of Israel, the 12 zodiac. So, with that knowledge, should help unlock and understand the allegorical template of that. Yeah, Samuel Weor is an intriguing author for sure. I don't know why some people think, we're saying that, I don't know. He definitely had some great thoughts and ways of expressing it that were very catapulting and unlike any other. So big shout outs to Samuel Weor. Um, the three mountains, right? That's the three initiations, right? Same with masonry, the 3 degrees: earth, water, fire, physical, astral, spiritual, mind, body, spirit. We all have to conquer the three mountains. But essentially, the three mountains is the path of the sun, birth, death, and resurrection, or the path of the Lord. So it's basically giving birth to the solar bodies, which is our higher virtue, spiritual nature, putting to death the inferior egos, and sacrificing for humanity. You have to give something to get something. You can't just take. Yeah, Rudolf Steiner on diet. I think you'll find what you need. Are the Dead Sea Scrolls important? I believe they are. They have a lot of cryptic energy. But I think what is beautiful about it is once you know it's not history, you just kind of everything's an open book, right? Like I almost hope someone's going to write the next gospel. We need a new one for Aquarius. Hmm. All right, and we're taking a quick break, but we're coming back and we're going to get into some some books. So stay tuned, chat amongst yourselves, check out the Patreon, join the community. It is free, but members, of course, we appreciate you because it helps facilitate all the expenses, with the internet and all this editing and all this hardware stuff. So I'll be right back. Thanks. And the similarities of the Upanishad and the Old Testament are uncanny. If you listen to the Upanishads on YouTube and you compare that to the Old Testament, you will see that the whole Nachiketas, him being sacrificed to Yama, the god of death, and then him being able to fulfill three boons, and him asking for his father to be saved, and he understands the mysteries. It's such a beautiful story. I recommend everyone to listen to the Upanishads audios on YouTube. Probably the best ones out there are the red one that pops up, or the individual ones by Seminary Jayasarya, if anyone's familiar with that. I'm thinking the Upanishads are so similar to Freemasonry. I'm almost thinking that the esoteric Western traditions pull a lot from the Vedantic traditions. It seems like there really bridge a gap between East and West. Yeah, and if anyone has any questions on the change of how research has changed and the research of the internal planes, the inner planes, electrification of the body, and understanding how important it is to utilize those transition periods of sleep, because while you activate the inner witness within, you have to watch the three gunas, the waking, the sleeping, and the dreamless state, become outside of them and utilize them as tools. Because when you're in the dream state, you can accomplish phenomenal aspects. You have to be able to fall asleep awake, and you have to train yourself to be able to be aware right when you wake up, because you're still in the spiritual body at that point. When you first wake up, you can leave your body. We all have to train to do that. I have not checked out that book, but what I do think is there should be more cryptic biblical works going on. There should be more, prophets and seers compiling these beautiful books, especially for the coming of the age. We need the new gospel, and not the new, right? Just the continuation. Nothing new under the sun. Just the change in that behavior, but maybe now just facilitated in a different way. Aquarius is more networking and kind of like what we're doing now, just sharing all of our ideas here together online, um, and putting things together. AI has taken over a lot of the information realm. I try to keep it face value, face to face. I try not to use it like AI pictures and all this stuff, just because everything is narrated with AI now, and everything is a visual disaster. When it comes to all the just everything is just out there kind of similar. I guess I'm just old school and miss the old days of just um, talking face to face with the internet. But yeah, the most as some of the comments before, activating the heart chakra is the most. That's why if you really think about it, and Jesus is pointing to his heart. When the lion and the lamb lie together, there will be peace. Reason being, the head and heart have to work in unison. Before initiation, the mind's going this way, the heart's going another way, right? So you have to actually tame the passions of the heart with the mind, and you have to cool off the heat of the mind as well with the the coolness of the heart, because they both work together to balance each other out. They are the two pillars, Joachim and Bakin, mercy and justice. They are the two pillars you must cross through, the heart and the mind. See, in esoteric teachings, there's always these other interpretations. First, you learn it's Ida and Pingala. Shushuma's in the middle. And then you learn it's mercy and justice to balance it out, to not be too harsh and to not be too non harsh. But then you find out it's the head and the heart. And then you find out it's all of them. So you keep climbing up the ladder, everything just becomes more clear. And once you be able to become so able to pierce the veil and utilize the information from the symbols, you can extract information from a chair. You can extract information from a plant. You can extract information from the cycles or the seasons, or just you could begin to understand people and their motives and their behavior. Instead of seeing someone and saying, hey, they're this way or that way, and this is who they are, you begin to see the puppeteering strings beyond the veil and see what is actually motivating them from the internal planes. As C.C. Zane and Thomas H. Burgoyne said, the inner weather affects your life more than the outer weather. The astral currents, the astral weather within. What does your astral forecast look like right now? What is your astral weather? What is taking place within your internal plane? Because it affects you more than the cloudy day. Because even if there's a cloudy day, if you create sunshine on your internal plane, you might be able to even cast the clouds out. As within, so without. And that's what it's all about, becoming a mage and becoming a sage and becoming a seer and being able to utilize the forces of nature to accomplish the will of God and not be thrashed around by them. Surveillance says, with technology, computers, AI, there may be new incumbent duties for all mankind that the ancients didn't have to deal with. Yeah, man. There's a lot of it's a very Aquarian type of era. So the technology does have to shift. Yeah, that topic, without saying it, just because I don't want, any issues with the live or whatever, but uh depends how ignorant the soul is, man. I mean, the more conscious you are, doesn't seem like something someone would do, but if you're ignorant enough, I could see why you'd want to I guess self transition to the next realm. But what you have to understand about the afterlife is it's instantaneous transference into the subtle realm, just like going to sleep. That's why they say sleep is the cousin of death, because every night when you go to sleep, you're practicing death. You will instantly transfer into the next plane of existence, just how you are right now, tenfold. And if your road is foggy, then that realm will be foggy as well. If your realm is clear right now, then you'll be able to see clearly there and be clairvoyant. So become a clairvoyant now. And there's people out there that are clairvoyant, right? And they don't know anything about spiritual teachings or whatever. They just, it's all about life, character, and it's all about that this life is trying to do this. Initiation is just nature. The mystery schools are just nature schools. It's all here for us. Let's see. So you have a herniated disc. So someone just in the comments saying they have constant pain, what to do about it. So you actually will just have to train yourself to not be bothered by the pain. The pain won't go away. You can only trigger your cerebrum to activate and surpass the cerebellum and tell your body that you're aware of the pain. You do not want to be alerted by it any longer, and that it will no longer bother you. Tell yourself this 30 times to mala beads before going to sleep and see if that helps. Yeah, man. It's all about just tricking you, right? Because, oh, well, thanks, man. Yeah, I appreciate you for being here. So, yeah, pain is pain, right? But it's just a warning signal. right? If you just tell your subconscious mind that you're aware of what's painful, you know there's a problem, it will no longer bother you. The pain will still be there, brother, but now it won't be noticed. Hope I zoomed out. There we go. Yep, mind over matter. Subjugation of the elements. Your goal should be to become an underlying centerfold personal point of consciousness, eternal immortal progression, and to subdue all lesser elements. Subjugate matter. And that's exactly the mystery of the Christ walking on water. So you have to have Christ within you walk upon the waters of life to overcome it. And in order to do that is just to access deep love and compassion. And like they said, the easiest way to activate the heart chakra, right? There's esoteric practices, but also simple random acts of kindness to not only your family, but to strangers and to yourself as well. Krishna is within you. So we have to become esoteric psychologists. We have to become astropsychologists. We have to become seers and clairvoyants and clairaudient. We have to be able to hear the internal messages that we're receiving from the still small voice within. Clairvoyance, we have to be able to see past the illusions of the astral realm and to see the realities of the causal realm. Okay, Surveillum saying, regarding your previous comment, Ken often speaks of disembodied beings. Are they trapped? What happened that impeded their liberation? So disembodied beings are beings that get trapped in the lower astral realms and are unable to fully transition into the higher astral or celestial realms, even with the help of higher beings. So there's usually relatives or higher beings that are there waiting for them to help nudge them on the path. The universe or God always sends someone, and yet they still harbor within their own confusion and their own attachments to the physical realm and have an extended period of sleepiness where they're actually not aware that they've transitioned into the astral realm, and they become kind of trapped on those lower earth realms. They will be able to transcend them once they overcome their sorrows. Yes, Darren, random acts of kindness does help charge your battery for sure. And that is an esoteric secret to know. It is amazing the thrill and ecstatic electrical energy and surge that you get from even the smallest act of kindness. That is just kind of sends a huge shot of dopamine through you for sure. But this realm, they're slowly trying to take that away by having us be so self-consumed that we can't even do a simple act of kindness without wanting to plaster it all over the internet. It's always good to stick to the ancients, man. Ancients never usually go astray. Follow the wisdom of the wise. And I'd recommend everyone take up bhakti yoga. I've been listening to a lot of reggae music for my bhakti because I used to listen to a lot of like Vaishnava music from Krishna music and stuff like that. And now I've just kind of transitioned a little bit more to reggae, but it still has the same activation process and it allows you to align with the heart. Because jhana yoga is the mind and always studying and learning and karma yoga is the actions, but you need to have that heartfelt aspect. And that's why some of the churchgoers are actually pretty ascended, just because they're actually doing bhakti yoga. If they really are actually in tuning to the emotional plane, then that's good. Yep, don't advertise your kindness, but right, Jesus says don't do it for people to see. Don't pray like the hypocrites outside. Do kind things for your Father who's in secret to see. But guess what? He did say to put out your talents. Don't hide your advertise the living crap out of all your talents and gifts, but don't advertise your kindness, and that you'll stay good. You'll stay in the middle path, the middle pillar, and become depolarized. It's all about doing, not doing, being the fulcrum, not the will. Be the fulcrum and let the will drive the car. Jaw is the driver. Shout out to Burning Spear. Yeah, but basically those initiation, it's all about going into trance and electrifying the nervous system, certain techniques to transition and be able to be aware in those astral plane. I feel like we need to tell people how to, all right, let's do it. Um we were going to talk about disembodied beings. Yes. So what happens if you're not a disembodied being and you make it past? That's even the average Joe, according to Swedenborg, even the average Joes, they don't get trapped in the lower realms. Is that crazy? Like we all think that, you have to be super special, super good, super this, super that. Most people make it to astral realms, right? It's super simple. Like you go there already when you sleep. And most people are just living day by day there, just how they were here. Except if they're awake of their death, which is the true remembering your past life, if you've become awakened, which is the rebirth, the resurrection. See, most people see that's why initiates awaken, they have the second birth here and now. They're born as a baby, which is actually death, right? So first you think it's born, but then you find out that the physical realm is death of the spiritual soul. That's in the next initiation. But you have to understand that the whole point is to understand that when you die in this physical realm, you're going to become aware of yourself in another plane of existence instantly. And whether or not you're aware of what happened or not depends on, did you awaken already? Most people understand that they've transitioned to the next realm. They're greeted by beings, friends that they didn't even know they had, or lost long relatives or loved ones, and are able to escort them to the higher planes. But if people have severe psychological imbalances or emotional imbalances, then obviously you can become lost. But even then, the universe sends someone to help. Just like here, when ambulance comes to get you, same with the other plane, except it won't be an ambulance. Maybe it'll be a flying chariot or something. And it sounds like jibber jabber, but the ancient realms and the ancient writers, the Vedas, Swedenborg, East, West, have all seen the internal planes and know that yeah, Darren, you're right. Once you're in those planes, you don't want to come back here, right? I mean, but we should learn to practice them. It's not that if you learn how to astral project and travel on the inner planes, then every night you'll visit that place that you'll be at permanently when you die. But it's actually not. It's kind of a lie, actually, that you'll be there permanently when you die, because actually in the astral realm you die too. So you'll actually have a passing, a disintegration of the astral body while you're giving birth to your celestial body. And once you're born in the celestial realm, you leave the realm of ideas. See, you're in the human realm of ideas, then the realm of archetypes. You're going to become an archetype. But you'll still have a being. You'll still have a nose and eyes and ears. Like I know it's hard to believe, but you're not a floating head. And consciousness must use a vehicle to experience its surroundings and locality. So every step of the ladder has a vehicle or body that you use. And you can prove this to yourself by accessing those bodies. Through deep concentration, you can slip into an astral virtual reality and be aware that you're still here in the physical realm. So you can actually be in two bodies at once. Of course, one is stagnant. And people actually go about living their day-to-day life and still having access to their other life that they're living in the astral and the causal, and depending on how awakened you are on these various levels. And that's why you can receive messages from your future self. Your future self isn't in the physical realm. We're all going to die one day here. This is the realm of time and space. Your future self is you disembodied in the celestial realm. It's not the future anymore, because the future here is the grave. Except we won't even experience that because instantaneous transference and the continuum. We just leave this life and transfer into the next. Like a butterfly leaving a cocoon. Yeah, we all have psychic powers, Darren. Some of us are clairvoyant. Some of us are clairaudient. Some of us are clairsentient. People have our ability to feel clearly, see clearly, hear clearly. If you're clairvoyant, you can see clearly. It doesn't mean that you can see necessarily. Clairvoyant sometimes means that I can see energy or I can see auras. And clairvoyant also means that you can extract truth, right? Or pierce through the veil, or open up a channel to information from higher spheres that surpass your own intellect. That's like John the Baptist, right? The enlightened intellect leading towards the Christ, the supermind. And I'd love to do a series on the Upanishads as well. Yeah, our brain is a filter that makes it so that we only experience these five senses through this nose, ears, and mouth. But in the superior planes of the protoplasmic atoms, we also have organs there too. What do you think of that, Darren? That we actually have astral organs that facilitate similar jobs that correspond to a more subtle reality with less laws. Yep, we have astral organs, folks. I mean, it's not very hard to conceive. I mean, how do you think that body works last night when you were sleeping? You're out doing, you're in the astral realm. You have a body. Have you ever been in the astral realm without a body? Can you imagine not having a body? You can't not have a body. It's just the substratum is non-form, but the substratum needs a form, masculine and feminine. Feminine's the form, masculine is the spirit, the unseen. The unseen moves through the seen, but they've tricked you into thinking that the seen is only in the physical realm, so that everyone thinks that when they die, they're going to be a floating head of nothingness. Surveillance says, the mystic in George Jurdiff, Pastor Ted Nuttingham, reversed this man. He has a different style. I'm intrigued. He was very brilliant, a hypnotist. Yeah, George Jurdiff, Samuel Weor learned a lot from him. One of the most profound mystics. And shout out to Ted Nuttingham. Maybe we can get Ted on the channel. I was trying to get Curtis Childs from Off the Left Eye over here, and would love to meet with Ted too, man. I feel like he'd be right up our alley. Shout out to Ted, man. That's why I like whoa. That's real Christianity. So yes, definitely consider the fourth way. I think we're going to be doing a whole live stream on the fourth way. In fact, I think I'm just going to go have a quick puff. And when we come back, I think we're going to go into the fourth way, because that actually goes right in to how to create a personal point of consciousness. And right now, if anyone in the chat, yeah, man. So what we're going to do is we're going to leave. I'm just going to keep this on. I'll be right back, but we're going to show you this really cool practice, right? So meditation 101, tongue at the roof of the mouth, eyes slightly gazing to the horizon, Spine erect. Slowly, slightly pulling up on your muscles, lower down to the lower part of your spine. Fingers touching. So these are a lot of steps, right? Chin down, slightly. Head straight, chin down. Eyes slightly to the horizon. Do the fourfold breath. Breathe in 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. But bring it up. Hold for 4. Bring it down. Hold for 4 out. Breathe in 4. If you combine this, you can slip into a trance. You have to feel the rotation within your body. Once you activate that rotation, start trying to figure out how to move inside your body. Do a 360 in your body without moving your physical body. Learn how to begin to navigate and swim in the astral cosmic ocean. Yes, there is. Let me just fourth way. Yeah, we're going to get in the fourth way, and we're going to get into the deeper reason for people born with disabilities. 100%. And it's not reincarnation, and they're not paying for their past sins of their past life. So stay tuned. Don't go, or everyone go grab some water or whatever. I'm coming back at 5. All right. Thank you for your patience. So let's get into some of these questions. So, people who are disabled, they come to this plane to help teach the people around them. People around them, as their caretakers, have divine missions that play a part in the next realm as caretakers as well. Because we're all caretakers of someone after this life. Our work continues in ways we can't imagine. And people with disabilities are born because their soul take on those specific circumstances to build the specific viewpoint that they need, that in the afterlife, their cosmic mission, they will be splendid and glorious and take on higher forms than those who may not have taken on that challenge. So they've taken on a sacrifice to acquire um, a more advanced, a spectacular, finer, subtle body than even someone who didn't have access to that challenge partook. So it's definitely a sacrifice and a lesson to all of us. So we're going to get right into Jurdif, the fourth way, and how we can utilize that in our everyday life, understanding the comprehension that we live in this world of matter. And as Alvin Boy Kuhn says, in fact, let me grab the book. This book. So, dang, I bet. Okay, cool. Probably just from. Wonder when I lost sound. Cool. Well, anyway, the fourth way, understanding that we're asleep, and understanding, I guess, was I muted when I said that disabled people have a higher purpose and they're here to help facilitate interchange in those that are the caretakers, and they acquire more splendid, subtle garments in the afterlife than those who don't. Okay, cool. So if you can hear it now, they're going to be taking on those higher forms. So as for the teachings of the fourth way with Jurdif, we understand that we are profoundly asleep. We're profoundly asleep right now in this physical world. And that's the earth stage of consciousness. Before you're baptized with water, you're an automaton. You're just going based off your impulses, your belief systems, your subconscious traits and habits passed on to you from your parents, first 7 years of life, etc. You haven't built a point of illumination of being awake. That's where baptism of water comes in. When you're baptized with water, not just physically, but metaphorically and spiritually, then you awaken out of the kind of like when water is splashed on you. Think about being asleep, which is your day to day life, awake, right? Awake, but you're asleep because you're not fully conscious of your actions. You're not sure who's behind what's making decisions. You're just making decisions willy nilly. And it's a little bit kind of seems like when you go back to this form, once you transcend it, you go back just like the snake eating its tail, because there comes a point where your life does become automated, in the point where once you're fully conscious and you activate that consciousness, you can just kind of go with the ride. And now you're just kind of like in the you're letting Christ take the wheel, right? And now you're the passenger of Christ. Before, you're driving the car all angry, you're an angry driver. Now you're kind of sitting in the passenger seat and letting Christ take the wheel. There's a lot of truth in that. Let Christ, Jesus grab the wheel. Esoterically speaking, you do let the higher conscious center, the awake part of you, that awareness wakes up the detrimental effects of being asleep in matter, because when spirit comes down into matter, it becomes entombed and dies in from a higher realm into the lower realm. And that's how you live now, because your spirit had to die for your physical body to live. The spirit had to shed its blood, spirit blood, for your physical body to live and have an ego, to develop a personal point of consciousness, so that in the afterlife you can function and you're no longer just an essence. So let's read from the Lost Key to the Scriptures, just to understand the sleeping, stagnant state, and then we'll go into the fourth way and how Jurdev taught us how to extract ourselves from that encumbered state of passivity by springing in the active forces of the Purusha. So we'll need to activate the inner forces of Aries to create the fire, to create the sizzle and the vapor of the water, or the baptism of water, so that we can meet Jesus in the clouds of vapor. And you can notice how that storyline aligns with the transition of consciousness and internal processes that take place. It's very deep and very profound. Libra for real says, what is an example of a higher form after you finish your thoughts? What do you mean by that? Do you mean like what form do you take after you die physically? Well, an example of a higher form to me would be, a higher form is a protoplasmic form or a celestial form of pure light. Just like in the Upanishads, it says, when the physical body or the soul departs from the physical body after death, it goes on to take on a more subtle form and superior form. What that means to me is that there's a better version of yourself outside of this physical body that's going to die. And this was the cocoon for that butterfly. So an example of a higher form would be your butterfly. This physical body is a cocoon. So when you die, you will become the butterfly. There may be some transition periods before the butterfly stage is fully reached, because that would be the immortal, celestial, self-conscious, immortal being. But it will look exactly like you. It'll have the same gender as you, the same characteristics as you, the same face, etc., except things will be polished and modified according to the spectrum of light. Yep, Christ's name and parables are written in every sign of the heaven. Yep, that's why the eternal scriptures were written on the heavens, so that man could never profane them. Yep, the disabled person will take on a higher form, meaning they might have an archangelic form that's higher than just an average citizen who crossed over. They might have way more spiritual power and prowess, because everything in the subtle realm is based on cause and effect in a very instantaneous way. So your form is changes based on your mood. Your clothing and the clothes you wear are based on your character, your mood. The weather around you is based on your character and mood. Your house that you have in the astral realm is based on your character and the life that you lived on Earth. The life that you lived on Earth is already storing a subconscious unit of energy that's creating an actual domain and a place of residence for you in the internal plane. Why do people have houses in the internal plane? Is just for privacy, so that you can have your own space that's shielded from external energies, in the same way that you have a house here to shield you. But yeah, the higher forms are splendid. Just go to the astral realm and you can see the higher forms. There's a lot more higher forms that you can say. You have to use your imagination to imagine, because the sage or the mage uses the imagination as a lens, not to just create a fantasy, But imagination is a lens to pierce beyond the veil and to see what is actually already there. And so technically you can't imagine something that doesn't exist, because imagination is just clearing the lens and peering into a certain frequency broadback spectrum that you tune into. So in the same way we surf the internet, we have to learn how to surf the inner planes for information and extract it. So yeah, Darren, we came here to learn how to manifest properly and also to navigate. Right? We came here to pleasure, pain, pleasure, pain, pleasure, pain, developing preferences, so that in the other life you actually know who you are, what you are, and where you're going. And the physical life gives you those dimensions to be able to form that. Because before this, you were just a simple essence in the bosom of God, essentially, without form, just like in Genesis, void and without form. And now you're being molded. Lost keys recovered. If the Bible is a collection of dramas and allegories of the soul's life and body, the point of next importance concerns their interpretation. Everything of value ultimately hinges on this. And because it was ever of pivotal importance, it was right here that ineptitude, unintelligence, and chicanery crept in to ruin the operation of the entire scheme of instruction divinely instituted for human benefit. The loss of the symbolic codes and the conquescent failure to grasp the proper interpretation sent the entire structure of ancient sagency crashing down in tragic wreckage. The trap that caught ignorance in its snares and led to the fatal decline of intelligence necessary for a true interpretation of scriptural lore is not hard to locate. It was the strange device that ancient genius employed to release truth to the intelligent and the uninitiated. Correction. It was the strange device that ancient genius employed to release truth to the intelligent and the initiated, while hiding it from the base and the vulgar mind. For the Bible was written in a language, the very existence of which has hardly been known since the days of its ancient usage, the language of symbolism. The glyphs and characters of this ancient language have been undeciphered for 20 centuries or more. Only recently have the first steps been taken toward its recovery and restoration, but already it is seen that through its light, the interior true meaning of the Bible and theology leaps into glorious significance and luminous intelligibility, so that the whole volume of divine revelation embodied in the Holy Scriptures is at once redeemed from errant nonsense to sublime import and value. And that's why I love the quote by Alvin Boykoon that says, "We're not here to take away religion, but to reestablish the true religion, the transcendental, syncretic truth, where we believe that there's only one truth, and that truth is God, and that truth emanates and is sown in various different cultures and languages and ways of being, because it's all on the wave. We are a wave manifesting into form in a torus field, the plane of inertia. And we are the denizens of the physical realm. This is the only physical realm in existence. And once we leave this physical realm, which is a womb, a tomb, we will experience the mysteries of spring, or the mysteries of the resurrection, which we will actually experience the spring. And then there was just a question, are there any practice to strengthen that attribute? Yeah, so you have to slip into a trance of visualization and let it play out. Like, there's hermetic exercises in the Franz Barden book, Initiation into Hermetics, where you learn how to visualize and to the point where you can see a pencil in front of you. But the main idea is you need to be able to electrify the nervous system through pranayama, slip into a half sleep state of awareness, and basically let yourself overcome a sleep paralysis, and then just get up out of bed. I recommend, we're going to be doing advanced astral projection teachings, which are already public, but we can kind of get them concentrated here and focus how to navigate the internal planes. And sometimes it's just sporadic, right? We only have our own experiences when sometimes God allows us, right? Sometimes we can't initiate them on our own, but we have to be open to receive them, and we have to want it, and we have to have the willpower and the want to experience and to know more. And if you go to sleep with that intention, have you ever went to bed with a question in mind, and you go to bed and you're figuring it out, or you go to sleep listening to Manly P. Hall or a lecture, and all of a sudden you're having a conversation 8 hours with Manly P. Hall as you're sleeping, almost half awake, half asleep. That's one way to tune into the higher planes. But other people are literally appearing in their bodies in the internal planes and communicating and doing things. And this happens in very lucid states of dreaming. So it's just basically mastering the art of dreaming through dream yoga. And I do have previous videos on my channel on dream yoga practices. And yeah, Darren Smith, the higher dimensions manifest in an instant. Yeah, instantaneous transition, exactly. They're already there. They're already encoded, and it is collective. It's not like what Helena Blavatsky teaches, that it's just hallucinations, and that your relatives are just projections of your mind. No, we are not. Yes, there's one. We are one at our substratum, but we are all individual impartials of the Lord. We're all individual miniatures. We're elementals of God. In the same way the elementals are below us, we're the elementals of God. God is the supreme logos. Christ is king. Yeah, so all dreams have a symbolism. So not being able to breathe in a dream could symbolize more of an emotional grief. The lungs have to do with grief. Yeah, we have to recover what was lost, the lost word of Freemasonry, the still small voice within that whispers the truth. Like Bob Marley's last words that he said in his last interview, he said there's a voice in each and every side of us that tells us the right way, and we need to learn to follow it and wake up to it. Yeah, grief is just heavy on the lungs. 3 fateful words, Alvin Boy Kuhn. The rehabilitation of the lost meaning of the sacred books of old properly begins with the revelation of the cryptic connotation of 3 words in the Bible, whose true interpretation will in a flash work a miracle of re-enlightenment in all minds, and will in one vivid moment of new realization transform the entire structure of religion and theology. So right here on Eclectic Mysteries, I publicly initiate you into this information that we all deserve in this age of Aquarius. And why I say that is because this needs to be dramatized, because these secrets you would have to go through so much to learn this. You would have to go through so many trials and join a mystery school and whatnot. And when you receive the information, it was mind-blowing. You're supposed to have like an awe, like a wonderment, so that it can inspire you to action. If it's just knowledge for the sake of knowledge, then it doesn't have its lore. The whole rationale of religious conception, so far as it is based on the authority of Bible literature, will undergo a complete and astonishing reorientation when the great light released by the proper esoteric sense of these 3 words is turned upon the mystifying problem of sane exegesis. The discovery of this meaning, hidden for 20 centuries, will inaugurate a new era in all world religion. And what are these 3 words that carry such vital significance? Here they are. They are the dead, death, and to die. In essence, they are the one word, death. It will fall with a stroke of amazement and incredulity upon minds of limited intelligence to be told that these words can possibly have or could for 25 centuries have had any other meaning in the scriptures than one commonly attached to them. What, it will be asked, can death possibly mean other than the demise of the physical person, which ensues when the impalpable life energy or soul detaches itself from the vehicle of flesh? Who else can be the dead but those who have lived in body and are now gone across the great divide? What can to die mean if not to undergo the separation of the body and the spirit? Surely there can be concealed no mystery here. Yet it is our obligation to announce, in the face of this universal superstition, that these simple words have all the time borne a connotation different from the one commonly supposed to their standard and established acceptation. And it becomes our privilege, on the strength of tested scholarship, to proclaim that they bear a meaning not only different from the one generally conceived, but one precisely opposite to that universally attributed to them. Incredible as it may seem, when used in their theological reference, those words bear a meaning that at one stroke turns the picture of all exegetical significance almost completely upside down. For to die means for the soul to live here on earth. Death means the soul's life here in the flesh. And the death is a term denoting those alive here in the mortal body. Could any assertion appear to be more preposterous? So essentially, this is the land of the living dead, and we are as close as we ever will be to death. So in that sense, there's nothing to fear. So allow this initiation to let all fear scatter from your mind so that you can live life truly to your destiny, mastering your archetypes, your astrology, and being able to understand that this life is death. Your time to bear your cross on the crucifixion of the cross, to experience the holy resurrection, to be at the right hand of the Father with Christ, and return to the grand monad, a self-conscious, immortal, and eternal progression in a vivifying true life is after this life, essentially. Yep. So smoke and syncretism, the Kaliki, the white horse, Jesus on the horse, coming in the clouds, and Kaliki on the horse Pegasus, and the hippocampus and the brain, the higher mind, and riding on the donkey coming into Jerusalem, meaning the Christ is won over the impulses of the physical flesh. When the inner Christ sits upon the throne at the right side, at the right hand of the Father, you are now riding the donkey. Yeah, so Christ returns in the heart of man. Yeah, the list of reading material would be found on my website under the book recommendations tab, innermysteries.org, and I do have a recommended book list. So, to wake up from our encumbered state of death and sleep, we have to become awake. So, the practicing of the fourth way is combining jhana yoga of the mind, devotional emotional yoga of the feelings, and karma yoga of the body into an all in one inclusive path that it uses awareness and paying attention to yourself via turning the light around. Watch my video on turning the light around. Turning the light around constantly throughout the day so that you don't fall into an automatic automaton state and you're able to live your whole day consciously and self-remembering that you are spirit in matter and that you are connected to the higher planes and that you are conscious, and then you begin to slowly wake up through your actions. And as you expand this consciousness, you become more aware and are able to become more useful to the cosmic scheme and your destiny. No, I'm actually in the US. And if everyone can share this, please just share this, like, subscribe, comment. Just try to get the algorithm out there. And I think we're gonna call it good tonight, and then we'll do the fourth way next, the next live, and then the live after that, we're gonna go into the inner plane mysteries as well. But actually, I might just leave this on for a little bit longer too, just because I kind of wanted to go all out and just stream. I have some time on my hands. It's been a pretty productive week, and just wanted to get this information out there and updates on Santos. Things should be getting fixed soon, and get back to the book of syncretism. Hopefully, trying to offer some more high quality, more higher quality content, so that we can like have better camera and stuff like that. So everything should be going good. This year should be great. Spring's coming. It's the real new year. The spiritual new year is Aries March, right? March, April, May, June, July, August, September 7, October 8, November 9, December decahedron 10. Nov- right? Because the new year is actually in Aries starting at the top of the head. On the sign of the ecliptic, the sun starts in Aries, the first sign of the zodiac. So when you're starting in January, you're actually doing the Capricornic New Year, which is just the physical aspect of the sine wave, as we'll learn more intrinsically later. Yeah, we'll do a few moments to break, and then we're just going to do some Q&A. So hit up the chat with questions, drop a super chat. I'll be back, and we'll dive deep. Just any questions at all, just let me know. We'll dive into it. So kind of throw it in the chat. So, for the fourth way, Samuel and Weor gave a good technique, soul technique, subject, object, location. So that just out of nowhere, you can ask yourself, what is the subject of what's going on right now? What is the object of what's going on now? And what is the location of what's going on right now? And then see yourself from above, like a third person point of view. And this is a good way to practice that throughout the day so that instead of slipping into your automated state of consciousness, you can just step into the state of mind of the witness and the observer. The witness and the observer is always outside of the phenomenal world. Krishna is outside of the phenomenal world. So you want to be with Krishna and not necessarily entangled in with the senses. You can pull in those senses, and that electrifies the nervous system and charges up your Jing energy and create more chi in the body, which then feeds the higher vessel into creating the spiritual solar body, which is your self-conscious immortality suit, so that you can go to the celestial realm. If you activate your celestial body here in the physical realm, then you don't have to go through all those astral spheres. You go straight to the premium mobile and beyond in the celestial body. Usually people have to transition to the astral realms. There's 7 of them, live there for centuries in hopes of creating their celestial body. Yeah. Any good spiritual movies I know of? Yeah, I like Donnie Darko. The Life of Pi was really good. I think Donnie Darko's sick. What else? Redwall, Naruto, The Legend of Zelda. These are all things that inspired occult esoteric knowledge that are works of art. But every movie, I think there's someone who said, who was it that said every movie's about Christ? Literally every movie. Christ is the intelligent factor, and the in various forms it takes on these different substances. Well, you only have, so Darren asked, I've mentioned in past teachings that if your sign is Capricorn, that you are at the end of your cycle here. So Capricorn is the end, is the, we leave through Capricorn, but you're only human physical life one time. So you've only actually been one zodiac sign here. You're all 12, but you're focused on the one you took your first breath on. But the end of your cycle is just basically done when you die here. So there's actually, you haven't had any other past lives here. This is your first life. Surveillance says they might be making a Zelda movie. Yeah, I hope so, but I hope it doesn't ruin it, man. Because Link's not supposed to talk, because Link is the intuition. Or Link is the link to, right? You are linking into that universe and the journey or on the journey. Yeah, Beelzebub's tells are very complicated. I think Samael did a spiff on it. I would recommend just reading. I would just learn from Ted Nuttingham, to be honest. I think he does a really good way of just summing it all up. Well, and also the Gnostic lectures, Gnostic teachings. Oh, thanks, man. Yeah, I try to dive into it, just because there's just a lot of those easy, there's a lot of like information for beginners out there, I feel like, and I don't want to have to slow down. I just want to kind of, get information out there for, so when everyone's done with all the AI slideshows and all the history of everything, people will come for the meat of the subject. And it's a little less fancy over here, but we're going to be getting to the truth. Yeah, but yeah, so yeah, Darren, interesting stuff, right? Reincarnation. A lot of schools say it's true. Thomas H. Burgoyne explains the misinterpretation of that, why it was misinterpreted, why this is your real only one physical life you've ever had, and now you're going to be you forever. Before this, you were in the essence realm, molding into a being to come down and transverse. You've had life experiences on these subtle realms, you as you come down, and then you hit the rock bottom negative plane, come up into the physical human, one and done. That's why in the Buddhist traditions and whatnot, they always talk, and that's why in the Upanishads it says once you die, you go to the realm of the ancestors, and then it go take on to a more subtle, higher form. And that's why also, what was the other book I was going to say? The Buddhist traditions, you become a hungry ghost. Hungry ghost is you don't reincarnate and pay for sins of a past life. You just become a hungry ghost and try to vicariously live. Hungry ghosts and demons are the legions that run the physical matrix, and they are trying to crystallize the physical realm and to rule over it for eternity because they can no longer access their immortal bodies. So they actually are trying to create a permanent physical realm and trap people in like a physical and extract the soul intelligence from humans and create automatons, androgynous automatons. And that's why certain esoteric schools that taught that the soul doesn't have a gender before the physical body are incorrect, because the physical body is a perfect reflection of what's within it. So your internal potency is male or female depending on who you are physically, because your physical body is a counterpart of that internal. Now you may be a more feminine man or a more masculine woman, but you're still a woman. It just depending on the Mars and Venus on the chart. Yeah, syncretism really is a true holy science, and Christ is king. Christ is the true crown principle, because Christ is the epitome of the all the knowledge of the Upanishads, the Tao Te Ching. People are saying, oh, the Tao Te Ching was preparing for Christ. Well, the truth of the matter is Christ is the reconciliation of the Old Testament, the Tao Te Ching, Bhakti Yoga, Jnana Yoga. You could say it's the most advanced spiritual teaching right now, the syncretic mastership of the world, and should be reverent as such. The Vaishnavas have no trouble with Jesus being the Son of God. It's only certain religious sects that don't understand. Even esoteric Kabbalah and Judaism can determine and show Christ relating to Tiphereth as it funnels through, right? And Chokmah. Christ is Chokmah, right? And then it comes down and expresses through Tiphereth. Just like Abraham is working on Chesed, Chesed is working on Tiphereth through the innermost. Chesed is the innermost, working on Tiphereth, the human soul, to develop it. That's the whole journey of Abraham. And to, the previous PowerPoint slide we were talking about. And we definitely have to go into the Garden of Eden mysteries as well. There's a lot more information to extract in regards to the allegories and symbolism of the Garden of Eden. Yeah, Smoking Syncretism says, yeah, the hungry ghost will steal your life essence through dreams too. If you don't have God's protection, the mother of wisdom has the number of our days measured in her hands. Yep. And the hungry ghosts are the if your energy field is low and your mentality is low enough, they will take over your body and commit heinous crimes. The demon haunted realms, as the Upanishad says, there are demon haunted realms, and there are superior realms of beautiful glory, beauty, and all sorts of activity. Activity never ends, motion never ends. There's always the supreme stillness, the Brahman within, that's the forefront, and the screen that uh, your soul is projected onto is your eternal substratum. You have the crown of thorns. You finally rise above your animal nature, and all the energy is transplanted back into the head. As Samael Weor says, we have to take the moon that is in our mind, the sun that has gone to our belly, and we have to take the sun from our belly and put it back into the mind and become solar minded, and take the moon and put it back where it belongs in our internal universe. A lot of alchemy and theurgy and magic is about basically organizing your internal universe to align with the kingdom of God. You're building Solomon's temple, and Solomon's temple is not only the physical body, but it's your internal bodies as well. Yeah, and like Darren, you were saying, constantly being watched. Basically, the those planets have seen the whole epic of human history, and we think that we're not being seen, but the planets see everything, right? They're the demigods or the watchers. And then not only that, we discover the watcher within. We understand that God's watching us from inside of us, the supreme seer, the Purusha, hovering above the waters in Genesis. The waters being the nervous system. The spirit hovers above the nervous system. Yep, when you're on the initiate path, Darren, and you're on the path of awakening, you will be tested by higher beings. They are actually invisible beings, not just forces or archetypes. They're not just like floating ideas testing you. It's actual beings. And their job is to help you. In the same way you will take on an occupation, a subtle occupation. You may have a mundane occupation, but you have a spiritual occupation. When you go to the afterlife, you'll have a spiritual occupation. No more mundane occupation. No more oil change for the car. No more broken bones. No more worried about certain things that you only have to worry about in this dense physical realm. Even though you will be in a protoplasmic, subtle physical realm, but the laws will change to the point where you'll have to worry about other things. It's not a perfect place. Let's get some questions in the chat. Yes, all of them have refrained from flesh. So, Darren, karma is not exactly what we've been told. necessarily just because we're not paying for something we did in our past life. Our karma is actually done. This life, we pay for what we've done in this life. We get out our energy within ourself, our internal astral structure attracts events to us. So our internal condition actually attracts the events that we call karma. And we're not actually paying for something that we did in the past life. Some of the challenges that we do have, we did choose when we came down so that we could experience them because they align with our higher purpose. But that's why we do have to become master of our stars, master of our destiny. And that's why in the Bible, Job is told, can you tell forth the Mazzaroth? Can you bind the Pleiades? Can you feel the tug and pull of Ursa Major? In a sense, do you know yourself? Do you know that you emanate from these celestial bodies and that they move and work through you? And do you know that you can control them? Yep, those are astral denizens. Surveillance says similar to lower demons. In Platonics, there are good demons. It is through some of them that act as doorways to the divine and why they're respected, so I learn. Yeah, a lot of time a demon just means disembodied being, right? An astral citizen. A lot of the astral realm, you could consider them all demons we're all demons until we're angels, basically. And you're not an angel until you're in the celestial realm, which is the third realm. That's why in the Upanishads it says there's three realms: the land of the physical realm, the land of dreams and ancestors, and the celestial spirit realm, the realm of Brahman. So we have to make that boat trip, the land of the living. We have to cross over that ocean of the astral ocean after death. And we're actually preparing for it now every day. Every day is a microcosm of your whole life. Nice. Feel free to stick around, restart it later. We're going to keep going. Yeah, baptism. So Smoke and Syncretism says he likes the Ebonite idea of ritual baptism, bathing, and practice that as well. Do you have tips on baptism and ritual cleaning? Yes, from the Hermetic teachings of Franz Barden. Light, cold. I'm not a teacher of cold showers. I don't recommend cold showers, but I recommend brisk, light, cold water, body brushing, pore breathing, ritual cleansing, baptism in spirit. So yes, the physical baptism may be beneficial, but it's true to acquire. It's a transition from the earth stage of consciousness to the water stage of consciousness. So you acquire truth and knowledge of soul within a body. Once you've done that, you have been basically baptized. But of course, water is a cleansing agent. So when you wash your hands, as taught by Franz Barton and other Hermetists, imagine yourself washing all the negative impurities and vices off of your hands going down into the drain. Yeah, there is genetic karmic change that are genetic predispositions, karmic weight that you acquire by whatever genetic pool that your soul decided to descend into based on internal resonance. Everything in the whole universe is based on internal resonance. Yup, the baptism of fire. And that happens, you'll notice that your voice will change. When you go from the earth to water, your personality changes. And when you go from water to air, your mind changes, your mentality changes. When you go from the mind and become baptized with fire, your voice changes. And you speak from a place that is hidden, from a hidden, invisible place. Yep. So instantaneous transference into the inner subtle planes of existence. Preparation for it every night. as we go to sleep. Be aware of the vigil state, of the transitioning between waking and sleep, because that is your key to being able to consciously be aware of what you do in the inner planes. Because even though you can't, just because you think that you're not doing it or you need a technique, the truth is your soul is free. Every time you go to sleep, your soul is liberated and travels amongst the spheres. It's just that you need to develop the self-perceptive consciousness that you're here in the physical realm to create, so that you're self-conscious of it, so that subconscious behavior becomes conscious, so that you can navigate the dream and astral realm and celestial realm consciously instead of automated, as people that even die and don't even know that they've died and continue living in a physical realm thinking they're alive until someone finally gets it through to them, the truth, and then they're awakened from their slumber. We must all awaken from our sleeping slumber and wake up and live, because we have to wake up and see the truth in front of us. Yeah, Noah represent the super earth baptism of water, yes, and then Christ the earth baptism by fire, correct. Yeah, if everyone, please join my Patreon. There's a link in the description. Join, be a part of the community, and also be up to date on syncretism, as well as just public posts and stuff like that. Good place to kind of organize all the information. Yeah, I feel like the phone. Yeah, so Freeman says I have my phone do funny things every time they smoke. The sister gets the same. Does it alter our frequency? Then the phones can't communicate, or is the mind altering reality? Yeah, our your aura field and energetic field is getting in the way and interfering with the phone. Yeah, man, a good quote by Bob Marley. Life is one big road with lots of signs. Yeah, and I love that because I think he talks about the zodiac signs quite a lot. A new sign is rising. The sign is arising. Rainbow Country is the astral realm. Listen to the song Rainbow Country and know he's talking about the inner planes. Yeah, musicians are definitely communicating with higher intelligences that are beyond even what they understand. Yeah, Santos, man, I've known Santos for a very very long time. And I feel like some things, even like Rastafarianism, right? They come out in an exoteric way, but they don't sometimes not even aware of the profundity of their esoteric teachings that glimmer forth from within the husk of the outer form of it. Alvin Boyd Kuhn, The Lost Key to the Scriptures. It is also held the explication of why the Egyptians' Bible was called the Book of the Dead. For those whom they dubbed the dead are ourselves, the living humans. The antique tome of supernal wisdom and transcendent knowledge was, after all, not as Budge and not at all other beguiled scholastics thought, written for the benefit of the dead, as some people say that these books are written for people after they die in the physical realm, that they're going to use that information to cross over the astral realm, when really those books were intended to help them cross this physical realm into the spiritual realm. Okay. It was seen that there was no clash between Macy and Plato, save that Plato was using the word death in its esoteric philosophical sense, and Macy was using it in its common reference to bodily decease. And what was that flash of illumination that came at that one moment of clear insight? To unlock the meaning of thousands of volumes hitherto read in befuddlement and confusion of ideas. It was the outstanding realization that indeed and in truth, beyond all cavil and controversy, the three pivotal words, death, the dead, and to die, before the same cryptic meaning and reference in the Christian and Hebrew scriptures, creeds, and theologies, as they did in Greek and Egyptian books of the old. The lost light of ancient Egypt had been rekindled, the rush of clarifications of scores and texts, the flood of new and more luminous meaning in every dialectical situation in the theological purview was an experience never to be forgotten. The light of new comprehension was almost blinding. In its permeating radiance, the entire structure of all ancient sagacity stood revealed in all the grandeur of its divine harmony and beauty. The mystery that this physical life is death and that the afterlife is actually life. So yeah, that's definitely a esoteric key. Yeah, Darren, you asked, is numerology a real thing? Yeah, numbers do carry encoded meanings, and everything is encoded, and our numbers related to our birthday definitely correlate to our destiny as well. These are some of the things that we can use to help guide us and to kind of pierce the veil and kind of get that extra help to kind of see, are we going in the right direction? Are we being authentic? Yeah, if anyone wants to book a one-on-one consultation, just email me as well. Email will be found on my website, innermysteries.org. Yeah, as for the synchronicity and the mystery of 1111 and 33, 1111 and 33 are the most powerful numbers, as well as 3, 6, and 9. 3, 6, and 9 relation to the physical body, the mind, body, and spirit, right? Spirit, soul, matter. 1111, the gates, the door, the da'at, the window, perception, truth, being on the right path. Basically, a divine being tapping you on the shoulder saying, hey, you're on the right path. 33 means, you know, you have the ability to become a master here on earth. I'm in Utah. But yeah, creating a personal point of consciousness, you got to utilize the three different aspects of thought. Learn how to train your thoughts. Create an initiation pattern where you're going to. Another good teacher that is good at that is Sifu Ramses, who is very good at teaching the Franz Bard and Hermetic tradition. Trying to find out which archetype do you play. You know, there's the seven archangels or the seven planets, and then you have a different tone boards for the 12 zodiac. So usually your rising sign should be what you're striving to be. Your sun sign is your natural aspects. Your moon sign is the part of you that's hidden, but other people can see that part of you, but you can't. The rising sign is what you're striving to be, but you're not there yet. Your sun sign is who you are now and what you have to work with, essentially. So your rising sign should be what you're striving for. Yeah, definitely. Never want to leave this place. Yeah, thanks, Darren. It's Mercury in Taurus. Oh, nice. You found Santos, Jason. Not familiar with Jason, but yeah, shout out to the journey, Freeman. That's beautiful. Yeah, Daniel. So look, your sun sign is your natural, like that's what you're given, right? That's who you are. Like based on that, your rising sign is who you're trying to be in the public eye. So like that's your front, the mask you wear, but you're trying to become and encapsulate that. So like I'm a rising Leo, like I'm an Aries rising Leo, right? So I'm trying to get on that king type of mind and glory, but you got to go through the Aries, right? The impulsive nature. And the moon sign is what's hidden from yourself, but others can see, and is kind of your inner world. Well, this is a good channel to be on because we got some of the best syncretism in the world. We have just a lot of great minds interacting here. We'd like to get some. I'd like to get Ted Nottingham on the show. There's been some standing on the back of giants, you know. I want to go through all these books. I've just been kind of using the same books. I don't use actually a lot of books. I have a certain amount of books that I use and a certain amount of books online that I get from archive and whatnot. But there's not many books to go that we could go through them at another time and kind of see how we can get things organized more. Heck yeah, man. Well, glad to have you here, Darren. Yep, just listen to this still small voice within. Just know that that voice within your that that small still voice within is what is trying to be drowned out by all the distractions. So just always take time to revisit the stillness. That's why practice some type of Eastern meditation or Christian esoteric practices or Golden Dawn or Hermetic exercises, just to return to the stillness, return to nature, return to stillness, ground, stay grounded, stay breathing correctly, stay with the tongue at the roof of the mouth, stay happy, stay irie, stay jolly, invoke Jupiter, stay disciplined, invoke Saturn, stay righteous in your anger with Mars, stay glorious like the sun, take all the planets, utilize them correctly, take the soundboard of the zodiac and transmute your 12 demons into the 12 holy creatures, for they'll be your cherubim and your ark to cross. They're the animals you have to load into your ark once you take off from this physical realm with the flood and go into the astral realm. Yeah, and does anyone have any information on Robert Gilbert? Yeah, meditate until your life becomes a meditation, right? Once the fourth way is unlocked, your whole life will become a conscious meditation, and you'll always be residing in Brahman. So no one has any information on Robert Gilbert. Yeah, I used to sun gaze when the sun is at appropriate spot, and I always love looking at the sun. Sometimes, anyway, I feel like it electrifies the pineal gland. I feel a crackling sensation in the pineal gland, and a sense of divine guidance. Yeah, when you do sun gaze, remember you try to communicate with the sun telepathically as well, and try to absorb. You have to learn how to utilize hermetically the eyes, right? You have to learn how to inhale 360 degrees around your spine. Your spine is a cylinder, and you have to inhale, and you can inhale and pull in through your pores and through your eyes and electrify the central nervous system. It's all part of the alchemical laboratory. Your body is an alchemical laboratory. Those alchemists were working in the laboratory of the human body itself on a microcosmic level. And if everyone can look at the 12 steps of alchemical process, I did post that a few months ago, I believe. Yeah, living in a place where winter is, you really experience the elements on a whole other level. I feel like humans are supposed to be sun followers. We're supposed to kind of migrate with the sun, but being in the northern hemisphere, you really do go through the winter death and the spring resurrection on a profound level. In the astral realm, you'll experience different kinds of astral weather. For example, in the astral realm or the inner planes, the weather is more filling. So you'll be feeling irie or feeling melancholic or jolly or ambient, but you will no longer feel cold or hot. There are places in the astral realm that mimic those feelings of cold and hot. However, the astral weather is more based on feeling and sight and visual than it is, harsh elements. Like, in this physical realm in the summer, it gets too hot. Did you know that King Herod is also astrologically the sun negative? So in the Bible, the characters actually change places. Sometimes the various characters in the Bible exuberate and an archetype. Just to get back on the topic of the title, right? Um, King Herod, right, according to Devil's Pulpit, with the sun raging, killing all the firstborn, the crops, the sun raging in the sign of Leo of August, right? And also Jesus is the sun in the book too, so the characters play different parts. It's not just a one-to-one character kind of thing. All the characters in each of the chapters play the corresponding astrological archetype that they are resonating with at the time of the chapter being written. So according to Sifu Ramses, teach the Franz Barden, right? We get the initiation to Hermetics. First, you learn how to observe the train of thoughts in a way where you are observing your thoughts, but you're not getting in the way of it, right? A lot of the times we learn how to meditate and we have these thoughts and you're trying to deal with them, right? You don't know what to do with them. They're overwhelming. Well, the point is you don't do any of them. You let them pass like clouds. Train of thoughts. Don't follow any particular train of thought. Just watch them go by. Go from one to the next for 10 minutes, but don't go asleep. Do not become unaware of you watching your train of thoughts. Do this practice 10 times for 10 minutes. The second practice, thought realm. Focus on one thought and one thought only, or one subject and one subject only, and exclusion of any other thoughts for 10 minutes, 10 times. Third exercise, go into the void for 10 minutes, no thoughts, no train of thought, 10 minutes, 10 times. A good way to train this at the same time is to actually practice creating an energy ball, a Qi Kong technique. Just put your palms, your hands together like this in front of you and start forming a psi ball, mental etheric energy. And this is actually just working with all three faculties. If you think about your thoughts, you're feeling the sentience of it, and the physical nature of you doing it. It kind of condenses those three practices into one. So you can even amplify the practice even more by adding that into it. Thank you, Sifu Ramses, for that. And the pore breathing is always super important. That breath, you can breathe in that exciting electric energy. And put your eyes towards above, like you're looking up. And when you breathe, pull in from all directions, soak it up like a sponge, soak up the ether, soak up the ethereal electrical energy, even to the point where you can breathe in the minerals that are existing in the air. Ask the air elementals to help activate the nutrients within the air to supplement your nervous system. Yeah, chemtrails are just a reflection of our internal turmoil. Our internal minds are clouded, so now they're clouding our skies. If we were to clear up our minds, they wouldn't be allowed to do what they're doing. All right, well, it was a good stream. Until next time.